Hey everybody, this is Tommy Rosen. I'm the founder of Recovery 2.0, and this is the Recovery 2.0 protocol to stop using marijuana. I had a long, protracted love affair with marijuana in my life, which began when I was 13 years old and went up until I was 22. The purpose of this protocol is to bring to light what I learned in my relationship with marijuana so that you can take this information and apply it to your own life in your own relationship with marijuana and decide what will be best for you. We should always ask ourselves when we struggle with any kind of decision to take a substance into our body or not, is this substance going to promote me or demote me? Is it going to build me up or bring me down? I can tell you that when we look at addiction, the question we should be asking is, how does this addictive substance serve me? How has it been serving me? Well, as I look back at my first experiences with marijuana when I was 13, I can tell you that marijuana served me in a couple of very important ways. Number one, it calmed my hyperactive mind. That's a medical fact, by the way. Marijuana is calming to the hyperactive mind. It also helped me to move aside difficult emotions. I found that I had anxiety and a lot of anger and was caught up in some ways as a young kid. And marijuana could take that and sort of put that off to the side for me. And it would allow me to have more of a free day, more of an enjoyable day, certainly. It increased my desire to be playful and my ability to be playful. There were a lot of antics that went on. It certainly increased my appetite, and not just for food, but for life in general, because I had been so caught up in my head and so anxious as a kid that I was unable to just enjoy and just be. So when I smoked marijuana and felt the feeling of being high for the first time, I felt like it was the first deep breath I had ever taken in my life. The first deep breath. That's a powerful statement. So I had found some relief. It had done something for me. And I began at that moment, I began to build a story around my marijuana use, around my relationship with marijuana. I need this. This will help me. This is good for me. This is soothing to me. And so there's a real sort of feeling of, why would I possibly give this up? It's bringing so much into my life. So that's the first part of the relationship. And like many relationships, it's very intoxicating at the beginning of the relationship, and more will be revealed later on in the relationship. And that certainly was the case here. So as I move on in my relationship with marijuana, I recognize that, number one, I'm doing more and more of it. I'm using it more, I'm smoking more, in more regular intervals. It's a part of my life. It's really becoming threaded into my experience of being alive. If I want to go to the gym even, like I'll get high because I just, it's giggly and fun, and I'll go to the gym and have that experience. Also, if I want to not go to the gym and I want to just sit back and sit on the couch and watch 5 hours of sports or some kind of movies or whatever it is, it'll help me do that too. Marijuana basically becomes the thing that I need in my life to do almost anything. It's not need like a heroin addict needs heroin. It's different. If you encountered me when I ran out of marijuana or didn't have it for a day or two, what you would have encountered was an irritable person. Kind of annoying and annoyed and irritable and kind of bitchy and not really able to enjoy himself. As this goes on, what you recognize is all the people that you hang out with, by this point, also smoke pot. So you've got this community of people that are engaged in this way of life. You recognize that most of the experiences that you're having have something to do with marijuana in some way, shape, or form. It's really become threaded through your whole existence. I can remember very clearly the day when I made a decision to stop smoking pot for 30 days. I've got to stop. I need to clean out. It's going to be difficult, but I need to do it. And so I went through that first couple days of irritability, and I was working out and starting to feel better, and I got up to 10 days, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I was like, wow, I'm going to make it to 30. I'm going to make it to 30. And then I kept going, and I was paying a little bit more attention to school and a little bit more attention, a little bit more present in my life. And I made it to 20 days, and I was like, wow, I'm really going to make it to 30 days. This is incredible. Well, I made it to 22 days, and on that day I woke up. And the strangest thought entered my head. I know I'm going to make it to 30 days. So I don't really have to make it to 30 days. That's the thought I had at 22 days. Since I know I'm going to make it, it's as if I've already made it. So I don't have to make it. And that thought entered my head, and by 11 o'clock in the morning, I was smoking bong hits, and I was off to the races again. And I remember later that day feeling, oh, this is why I wanted to make it to 30 days. This feeling is why. I really felt a great sense of letdown. That thinking that I just described to you, that's just straight up addictive thinking. That's all that is. That's an addictive thought which translated into an action to imbibe in an addictive behavior, which I had decided I would not imbibe in at least for another 8 days. But the minute that thinking came in, that was it. Ultimately, I stopped smoking pot. When I went off to treatment, the last thing I said to my friend was, I'm going to give up cocaine. I'm going to give up heroin. But no treatment facility in the world could make me stop smoking pot. That is how deeply ingrained in my world that was. And when I got to treatment, slowly, over the next few weeks, a little over a month, I started to understand that my whole life had been about avoiding the way that I was feeling. All my actions were about trying to recreate some kind of pleasure I had at some point in the past, or trying to avoid pain that I had felt at some point in the past. And meanwhile, since I'm obsessed with the future and obsessed with the past, but I have no sense of presence, I was just smoking pot all those years, avoiding all those feelings, never learning how to go through a difficult feeling, but just putting it aside, just like brushing something under a rug and expecting it to be gone. When I got sober and I started to live life as a sober person, free of drugs and alcohol completely, guess what was waiting for me? Me. All my core issues, all those emotions I had stuffed and pushed aside all those years. I had not actually benefited from the pain and the challenge of going through life because I had always pushed the pain and challenge aside. Well, that was a big eye-opener for me. Marijuana had not healed me. It had not cured me. It had simply been a mask over a series of issues that eventually were going to have to be worked out, but that as long as I was smoking marijuana could never be worked out, would never be worked out. And so you see, the minute I let go of that, I entered a world where a new kind of freedom and a new kind of healing was possible for me. But I never could have known that in the early days when marijuana was still serving me. And then later on, when marijuana became a burden to my life, I certainly could have known that by letting go of it, there was going to be a way to heal from the original wounds and the original hurts that I had used marijuana to cover up in the first place. Marijuana dims the human spirit over time. That was my direct experience. I can tell you that I'm glad that I found it when I found it because I needed it at that time. But the best thing that could have happened to me was that much earlier than I did, I would have moved onto a path of healing, a path of recovery, a path of yoga, a path of meditation, which have given me all the benefits and beyond what marijuana could ever give me without any downside. These days, marijuana is being legalized in a lot of different states. It's got to be confusing to kids. Parents come at them with a lot of fear-based information. Marketers come at them, marketing marijuana products to them in the states where it's legal. And parents don't really know what to do. Some of the parents smoke pot. Especially those pot-smoking parents, really it's difficult. Not sure how to guide their child in most cases. I can't really tell my kid not to do this. That would be hypocritical. I can try to tell them to wait. And plus, all the strains of marijuana that they're creating now, they're hybridizing, are extremely potent, extremely strong, very different than what was around back then. So we're continually manufacturing a more potent way of distracting ourselves. Really tough time. I don't want to get into any kind of political discussion about the legalization of marijuana. What I wish for people, what I wish for you, is I would like you to be able to make a decision based upon good information and based upon your direct experience. I think if people are going to decide to smoke marijuana, that they should also be turned onto a path of yoga and meditation, where they're not smoking marijuana while they're meditating, they're not smoking marijuana while they're practicing yoga, so that they can have an experience of how those things open up the heart, open up the mind, calm the mind, bring ease to the body. I want you to be able to reflect on your own experience in life, and with good information, be able to make up your own mind about this stuff. I had a positive experience. This is something that works for me at this point, but I'm also aware of the dangers and where this might lead. And I think I'd like to look into some of these other things. I'm interested in optimal health. I'm interested in expanding consciousness, not limiting consciousness. To me, whenever we reach outside of ourselves for any drug or alcohol, we're limiting what's possible for us. So, if you can self-reflect, if you can self-correct when you need to, you can think for yourself, and you have the ability to tell the truth at a deep level. And I don't mean tell the truth to another person, I mean tell the truth to yourself. Then you may find yourself moving beyond the confines of a relationship with marijuana. For me, it couldn't take me where I needed to go. I had to learn that the hard way. And I had to mentally, emotionally, and physically detox in my own way from marijuana. So let's say you've come to the point where you're ready to stop. You realize that you have a problem with marijuana, that you want to see what life would be like without it. What do you do? As with all addictions and all points of pivot in life, it's going to require a couple of key elements. First element, always the first element, is community. Is coming out of the aloneness and into community with other people who are trying to walk the same path that you would like to walk. For me, of course, it was the 12 steps. I found a home and support and love and connection and understanding in that community. So it really, really helped me to move beyond the mental addiction, the mental piece of the addiction. There are Marijuana Anonymous meetings. Many people still don't realize that, but Marijuana Anonymous is just another fellowship that uses the 12 steps, particularly for people who want to stop using marijuana. Very powerful community. Obviously, people understand each other and what they've been through, and they all have had this deep experience with marijuana, and they all want to move beyond it and live in a place where they're free from it. So that's an incredible resource for anybody who wants to stop smoking or using marijuana. In some cases, in many cases, marijuana so deeply takes over a person's life that they're going to need a little time away, a little space between them and using, a little space between them and their community of friends who have been using with them. Getting into a new environment is so helpful. And what's often the response I get from people who want to stop smoking pot is, it's just marijuana. I'm going to go into treatment with heroin addicts and cocaine addicts and all this. It doesn't make any sense to me. And what I say to them all is simply this. The most dangerous and insidious thing about marijuana is it doesn't kill you right away. You could spend the rest of your life and never get beyond this problem. Never realize your dreams. Never unlock your gifts. Never get to live the life that you were born to live, because your life didn't implode like the life of a heroin addict or the life of a cocaine addict who had to get sober. So I say to marijuana addicts, people who use marijuana and want to stop, please get past the idea that this is some kind of less dangerous situation. It's dangerous. It just won't kill you right away. You'll get to live a kind of half-life. And who wants to live that? Certainly nobody like you, and certainly nobody like me. So when you get beyond that idea, you might say to yourself, wow, to be able to go to a place where I could get support, be distanced from my normal routines, that might actually be helpful to me. And guess what? You'll get to learn so much about addiction and about your life, and you'll even learn some of the reasons why you might be using marijuana and what that might be covering up in your life. The most incredible learnings can come to you. So if you can get to treatment, inpatient treatment, that's often a wonderful, wonderful thing. There's also outpatient treatment, which is useful for people who, for some reason, can't go to inpatient treatment. Maybe they have responsibilities that they simply cannot leave for 30 days. I tell people, no matter what it is, if you can get beyond addiction, take the 30 days. But if for some reason you can't do that, there's outpatient treatment. You'll go to a treatment facility 5, 6, 7 hours a day for 5 or 6 days a week, but you'll sleep at home at night. Beyond that, there's therapy, and you can be in a one-on-one therapeutic relationship with a counselor who can help guide you into healthy lifestyle practices, but also unraveling some of the mental twists around marijuana addiction and some of the trauma or the unprocessed emotional residue from your past. All of this work is going to be wonderful work to help you to heal and move beyond marijuana use. For me, what I tell people all the time, use everything at your disposal. For me, it was the 12 steps, therapy, also treatment. And today, I surround myself with people who are on a path of recovery or on a path of spiritual learning, on a path of healing, on a path that leads to health, wellness, expansion of consciousness and awareness, and living a life second to none. I'm 26 years in recovery continuously without any marijuana in my system. And I can tell you that for at least the last 25 of those years, I have not had a single thought of, wow, I wish I could smoke pot again. It's completely removed from my mind and my body and my spirit. Whatever that relationship was about for me, it was completed a long time ago. And I hope that you find this inspiring And you will seek inside yourself for the answer to this question. Does this ultimately serve me? Is this thing really going to bring me where I need to go in my life? I trust you to make that answer, and I hope this has been helpful information for you. We have lots of protocols here at Recovery 2.0, much like this one. Videos that will help people to get off of different kinds of drugs and out of other addictive behaviors. If there's some other way that we can serve you, I trust and hope that you'll let us know. Until then, take good care of yourself. Walk this path of recovery. Never look back, and don't ever despair. There's a way through every block. We'll see you soon.